Hi, in this playlist I'm going to address the logical fallacies, in particular the informal fallacies. Uh, let's go over what a fallacy is and why you need to recognize them before we get into what the individual fallacies are. An informal fallacy is a logical argument whose premises fail to support the conclusion. Informal fallacies come about often because of an error in reasoning that it's most often missed. The premises are then incorrectly linked to a conclusion. There's many of them. Some people say it's 7, some say it's 9. I'm going to cover as many that I feel like are important, but there's 15 I'm looking at doing something about. The appeal to authority and the slippery slope arguments are not always fallacious, depending on the context and particulars of the argument anyway. Now, deciding if a formal logical fallacy has been committed, it typically requires a little bit of practice and some effort. Many people are far too ready to state that any argument whose conclusion they dislike commits one or more informal logical fallacy. And in so doing, they often exhibit a misunderstanding of what the argument in question was actually stating, or how the conclusion is supposed to follow from the premise. Before declaring an argument fallacious, we need to be sure that we have carefully examined the premise and the structure of the argument, so we can be sure we are not misconstruing the intent of the argument. That's a big thing. A lot of people will quickly just shout out straw man or, ad hoc, ad hominem. Well, ad hominem is a little easy to notice, but we'll just shout these things out trying to disprove an argument that they don't like when they either didn't listen to the argument or don't like it. Informal logical fallacies are exceptionally common in everyday reasoning. And being familiar with some of these, it's going to make it easier to understand what's going on, what an argument actually is, to spot a poor argument that doesn't make its point, and be able to make your own valid arguments that can be followed. To identify the informal logical fallacies will help you structure your arguments better, and they'll be more difficult to get past. Someone won't be able to just dismiss you out of hand as easily. Well, they still can, but they'll be wrong. You'll be less likely to vote a certain way because you were swayed by a whole bunch of crazy stuff, because politicians are very famous for their fallacies, especially the straw man and the false dichotomy. I haven't seen the slippery slope so much, but that's one that the Trump support is using a lot lately. You'll also be able to recognize situations that don't seem to quite make sense based on the arguments that were brought up to explain it, and you'll be able to point out the holes in the reasoning with a proper argument supported by proper sources. I could give you a whole bunch of examples of things that just don't quite seem right, and the arguments supporting them are completely flawed, but I'll bring up individual examples in each video about a particular fallacy. I hope these help. I hope they help you make a better argument. I hope they help you break down poor arguments, and I hope that it helps you not get hosed by some salesman trying to sell you a car by appealing to an authority that has nothing to do with cars, or a false authority, or any one of these many different things that are designed to get you to believe someone's argument without actually making a real argument. Good luck, everyone.